Hello, my name is Stacy Liguori, and welcome to an overview of the Special Education Indicators. The U.S. Department of Education Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP, developed 17 indicators to help each state measure and report on its efforts to educate students with disabilities. All states and territories submit various data and reports to the U.S. Department of Education. Each state reports on its performance on each of the indicators as well as its plan to make progress in the State Performance Plan and Annual Performance Report, SPP APR. The APR must be submitted annually. In today's module, we will be discussing an overview of Indicator 13, Secondary Transition. Indicator 13 is part of the SPP APR. What is Indicator 13? Indicator 13 is a compliance indicator, meaning that the indicator's target is 0% or 100%, and this target is set by the Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP. Indicator 13 is the percentage of youths ages 16 to 21 with an Individualized Education Program, IEP, who receive secondary transition planning and services that comply with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. IDEA transition planning and services are mandated in federal regulation 34 CFR Section 300.43, Section 300.305, Section 300.320 through Section 300.322, Section 300.324, Section 300.520, and Section 300.622. Appropriate, measurable post-secondary goals that are annually updated and based upon the age-appropriate transition assessment. Transition services include course of study that will reasonably enable the student to meet those post-secondary goals, annual IEP goals related to the student's transition service needs, evidence that the student was invited to the Admission and Release Committee ARC meeting where transition services are being discussed, evidence of prior consent of the parent to invite a representative of any participating agency that is likely to be responsible for providing or paying for transition services. 20 USC 1416 A3B. Why is Indicator 13 important? It is one way the Office of Special Education and Early Learning, OSEAL, ensures that schools and districts comply with federal and state special education laws and help the Office of Special Education and Early Learning to understand how to provide additional professional development and other resources to support students' transition needs. Data collection. The Office of Special Education and Early Learning, OSEAL, provides a self-assessment spreadsheet to all local education agencies, LEAs, directors of special education, DOSES, to enter the Indicator 13 data. The OSEAL instructs districts to randomly select and then review 10% of students who are age 16 and older for a total of no fewer than 10 and no more than 50 students. The district submits its review results via the self-assessment report to the OSEAL, where the OSEAL checks the district's self-reported data for completion, duplication, and errors. The OCEAL then reviews and validates self-reported noncompliance and performs random desk reviews to validate self-reported compliance. As part of the collecting data for this indicator, LEAs will provide evidence that the student was invited to the ARC meeting where transition services are discussed and evidence that, if appropriate, a representative of participating outside agencies was invited with the prior consent of the parent. Frequently asked question. Question: when does an LEA need to obtain signed consent from a parent or guardian to invite an outside agency? Answer: if an ARC determines an outside agency needs to be invited to the ARC must have consent documented, signed, prior to sending the first meeting notice invitation to each scheduled ARC. Example: for a meeting scheduled for December 1st of 2021, the first meeting notice scheduled to be sent to parent or guardian is November 10th of 2021. Consent to invite the outside agency must be obtained prior to November 10th of 2021. Frequently asked question: what must the course of study include? Answer: in accordance with 707 KAR 1 320 Section 7A, in the child's 8th grade year or when the child has reached the age of 14, and in alignment with the child's individual learning plan as required by 704 KAR 3 305 or earlier if determined appropriate by the ARC. The IEP for a child with a disability shall include a statement of the transition service needs of the child under the applicable components of the child's IEP that focus on the child's course of study. This statement shall be updated annually. The student's course of study must connect with, relate to the student's statement of transition services and their post-secondary transition goals. There must be a closely aligned relationship between these components. For example, student A is currently in 10th grade and will participate in grade 14 after age 18. The IEP should include a course of study for grades 10, 11, 12, and 14. Frequently asked question. Question: if a student's post-secondary goal is still the same, but the regulation requires it to be updated annually, can the ARC have the same post-secondary goal on prior or current IEPs? Answer: yes. However, the ARC must document in the ARC conference summary or in the transition section of the present levels section of the student's IEP based on data gleaned from current interviews or assessments, the student's post-secondary goal remains the same. Example: a student's post-secondary goal in the 2019 to 2020 school year was to go to trade school to become a welder. The student's current post-secondary goal for the 2020 to 2021 school year is to go to trade school to become a welder. The ARC would need to document in the ARC conference summary or the transition section of the present level section of the student's IEP that, according to the interview with the student during the ARC, he still wants to go to trade school and become a welder. In summary, Indicator 13 measures the total number of youths ages 16 and older with an IEP containing all the required transition components as outlined in Indicator 13, which includes measurable, annual, updated post-secondary goals based upon an age-appropriate transition assessment, IEP goals related to transition service needs, transition services, and a course of study. Here are some additional resources for your review. Thank you for viewing this webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to access the SPP Indicator Guide on the Special Education Data Dashboard webpage, or you may contact the Division of IDEA Monitoring and Results in the Office of Special Education and Early Learning.